اهلا وسهلا دكتور علي. ميوت. هلا بيك. ما شاء الله لك شعبيه، انت لك شعبيه كبيره في هجوم الاتنديز.
I think بنقدر نبلش صراحه. اذا بدك ابلش انا بالاوبننج. تمام. We'll speak in English because we have so many attendees outside the Arab world. First of all, thank you all for attending and joining BSides Amman 2021. Today is our last activity or workshop, part of the conference that has been a virtual experience, very interesting and fruitful. It gave us a new approach to conferencing compared to the previous BSides Amman that we had in 2019. Having this conference community knowledge sharing globally between different security professionals and students, different languages and backgrounds, experiences and sectors. It's been really interesting and fruitful, and we are so happy that it was such a successful experience for us and for all the attendees. We are also very happy that we have Dr. Ali with us in this conference to cover a very important aspect related to Windows forensics. The conference has covered a lot of talks about application security, and I think everyone is eager to know more about now forensics because it has its own audience and special fan group. I can't talk enough about Dr. Ali, of course. You all know him, and joining us in this session is of great demonstration to his knowledge and background in the area. And we don't want to talk a lot about this, of course. The session will be live streamed if you want to share it with anyone on YouTube and on Facebook. One comment regarding the forensics image. I know everyone is asking about it, and we have faced a lot of issues related to download limitations, maybe not only because it's a limitation on the request, but also because there is a huge demand on the downloads. So we will handle this either during the session or after the session to provide it to all attendees and registrants. Other than that, we will now enjoy these 2 hours with Dr. Ali. Please, this is an interactive session, or if you have any questions, you can just send it in the questions box. We will have breaks every now and then, and we can carry on the workshop as you guys feel, and Dr. Ali actually mandates. Dr. Ali, thank you again for joining us. It's really a pleasure. Please, the mic is all yours.
Okay. First of all, thank you, BSides Amman, and the team, Leila, Rami, Muhammad, Iyad, and everyone else for inviting me and hosting me. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. I hope everyone can hear me clear. If you have a question, please leave it in the, like Leila said. My camera is over here, so that's why the VM I'm using is, my camera is on my left and the VM is on my right, so don't get confused. If you have any question, please leave it. I'll try to leave some time at the end so we can go over your questions and try to answer them. Just a quick introduction about myself. My name is Ali Hadi. I work as a professor at Champlain College. I also work as a research team lead at the Leahy Center for Digital Forensics and Cybersecurity, and I'm also the co-founder. Show my screen. Now you can see my screen, I assume. And I'm also the co-founder of Cyber5W. So today we'll try to go over a case, a Windows forensic case. The idea is to try to learn a little bit about Windows forensics by what we call learning by doing. So the idea is to learn a little bit about Windows forensics. This is definitely not gonna cover everything related to Windows forensics. At the end, we usually cover that in a course or a semester or whatever. So try to go over the most, I would say, important details related to the case, how we will work the case, different tools. Most of the tools actually are, or even all of them, probably just one, are tools by Eric Zimmerman. Big shout out to Eric and all the good work he does. I also highly recommend you go and support him. So again, the idea is to cover a case, learn by doing. If you didn't get the chance to download the files, unfortunately, we tried our best to handle that, but it seems there's a lot of demand on the image. So we'll get that figured out after the session. So after that, you'll have the video, which is going to be recorded, and you'll have the file so you can go over that. So enough about that. Let's get started. If you already downloaded the VM, the VM already includes the tools, the image, and a document which has an explanation about what we are going to be covering today. So we can I can open that and talk a little bit about this. Before I do that, if you got the VM, then again the tools are within this volume, which is the VHDX volume. So you can just double click on it. It will automatically be mounted. I know you might not have the Arsenal image mounter in there, and that's because this is I would say I updated this early today morning after Eric recommended we use image mounter over FTK Imager, but you can still use FTK Imager. It's the same thing to use. So we can start by, again, just double click on the image, the volume. It will automatically be mounted, so you don't need to really do anything there. Extract the image mounter. The URLs to the Arsenal image mounter will be provided, or you can just Google them. It's not hard to find. And then I would want to open this in a new window so we can have these two separately.
Doctor, okay. Sorry for interruption, but some people say that the resolution is not very clear. So if that can be enhanced a little bit.
Can I actually even use the smaller monitor for this problem, but let's see if this will help.
Yeah, thank you.
Wait a minute. Will this be better?
I'll hear it from the audience. Is it better now? Amy?
Actually, for me, it's clear. I don't know.
Alex says it's fine.
From my side.
All right. I think we can go on.
Okay, great. Thank you, Iyad. So let's, we got the, okay. So again, welcome to the workshop. This is if you want to, by the way, how to access the tools. I just wrote that. If you want to update Eric's tools, all you need to do is just in the directory where Eric has his tools, just Control Shift and then open PowerShell here. And then all you need to do is do the get. And this will update the tools. I'm not going to do that for now, but you can do that. If you want to get an updated version of the tools, again, thanks to Eric for doing all of that for us. Now, the case we have here in hand, this is a little overview that, let me scroll a little bit here. So we've been given a system. The system has been used for some illegal activity. The user has accessed some confidential documents, which the user was not supposed to be accessing or was not supposed to use. The system has 2 user accounts. I would say that's the reason this case was created for in this way, just so that I would say to confuse a little bit the analyst, and then to also see how they will approach it, because you don't want to follow a rabbit hole and then you might waste your time. At the end, your client that you will be doing the investigation for is only going to be paying you for a certain amount of hours. So it's better to know how to approach this. So we have two users. Okay, we'll see how we will be able to filter that and focus on one user and see which user exactly was the user that we are interested in, or the most important user for this case. So the system has two users. One is called Joker, and the other one is the IE user, which is the default one that comes with these Microsoft VMs. And you are required to provide answers to all of the questions below. Now, one of the notes I usually tell my students is screenshot or it didn't happen. Sometimes I'll just get like an answer, especially if we are learning. Probably in a report, you might not want to add screenshots all the time, but if we want to learn, if this is about learning and stuff like that, then it's good to have a screenshot and also to provide your instructor with proof that you truly did this work. So that's why I say screenshot or it didn't happen. So we'll need to take a screenshot for what we did. Now, first question is, what is the hash value for the given forensic image? So let's start by actually mounting our image. So we'll go to Arsenal Image Mounter. This one, once you double click on it, okay, so this is, as you can see, it's no license, it's a free mode. I highly recommend if you do forensics, you get a full version. So that's okay. It needs a driver. Let the driver be set up. All good. Now we want to mount the disk image. So the disk image is already in this location. Just select that. And I want to, because we want to sometimes access some certain directories which have maybe some permissions that we won't be able to access. So it's good to use the write temporary disk space. What this really does is it's not really going to write inside the evidence itself. So it's not going to really modify anything in your evidence. So don't worry about that. The evidence will not be tampered. It's going to create, let's say, a cache, and all the modifications, whether you need to, let's say, bypass some certain privileges, etc., those will be changed within that cache. So it will be stored in that cache. So it's only temporary in that cache, and it's not going to be reflected on your image. So I will just specify these, specify alternate different file location, because I usually save them on my desktop, and delete the dereferencing file after unmounting. I just like to do that in case I load the image again. I don't want to get that error message saying this was already mounted before. So you can do that, then okay. So again, I'm going to store the diff file. See, it's a diff file on my desktop. Now we have the image mounted. You can see it has been mounted to the F drive letter. We can see it's an image. We can see the users we mentioned in the case, IE user and the Joker user. See, this is one. We can say continue now, because we are going to modify the permissions, but it's going to modify that diff file. So we can see these are the users that we have over here. So we can do that, and we expand here, we should be able to see. Okay, so if this is not going to calculate the, where is it? Okay, so if this is not going to calculate the, let's do this in. I'm going to do it a different way. So let's do this quickly, and I'm going to leave it to run because it's going to take some time. So if we select the BSides and then this, and I'll say verify drive image. So let this run so we can get the hash value. So we'll leave some space for that later. Okay, which user account is used to access some confidential documents? We still don't know the answer to that yet. So even if it's listed as question number 2, don't get confused that you need to solve those questions in the exact order. No, you can go back and forth, because at the end probably your client might give you these questions, or might give you the what they want out of their investigation, of what you will be doing for them, not in a really, let's say, chronological order or like in an order that you expect to go and investigate them, but you can like again jump back and forth between them. Once you have a clear answer, you can just go back and add that answer in there. So we need also to explain proof, and I by the way did this on purpose, so I could have let's say put them in a chronological order, but it's also to explain the idea here. Unless by the way you do the questionnaire with your client and then you gather those questions that you need to answer, then probably after you get those, you will list them in the way you will do the investigation. But if these were just given to you, which in our case it is, don't worry about that. We can just again go back and forth between them. So explaining details, we don't have any details yet, so we need to start working on this. Did the user access any confidential? Again, this is still not clear to us. What proof? We still have no idea. So as you can see, we have no idea of first which user accessed these files. We don't have any proof yet to, let's say, give answers or put those answers out there. So what we will do is, first thing, we need to know what type of data are we interested in. So here it's clear we are talking about user access for some documents. So we are interested in accessing, interested in artifacts related to user activity. That's number one. And those user activities related to, if we, let's say, narrow our focus down again more, it's about accessing documents. So it's clear that we want to prove that the user has opened a certain document, which is still not clear to us which documents have been opened. So we need to focus on the artifacts that will give us the answers about documents, let's say. So one of the we have, I would say, two. Yes.
For interruptions, but we have tens of questions about the environment yet. People are asking about the image, the VM password, number one. Okay. Number two, they are asking a lot about the difference between the links between the different links. When you said that you added the Zimmerman tools, what's the difference between the two folders that has been shared? They're worried that this is intentional or some additional clues in the new image. Also on the new files, that's a trick. Also, again, just to clarify the tools, I think people are, not all of them very much, some of them are new. This is their first forensics session. So I think if we can just give us a little bit of sample introduction for everything, the tools that we are using, just small words on all of this stuff. I think it will get everyone well into us, well with us. They're asking about the mount tool name also.
Okay, so the tool which I use to mount the image is Arsenal Image Mounter, and we can get that from, let me open my browser here. And we can get that from Arsenal Image Mounter from here. And if you go to Think Downloads, you should find. Yeah, this is the one. This is the one I'm using. It's the exact same version. I just downloaded it actually earlier today. So this is the same one. I will actually add the links to all of the tools, even Eric's tools. Even though, by the way, if you just type Eric Zimmerman in Google, it will show up. Eric's very known for his tools, and I doubt there is investigators out there that don't use them. So if you just type Eric Zimmerman tools, you'll get that, but I will add those to this document and upload that again. That's one. The files that were shared on Mega, those only include the E01, which is the this image, this case image, and this document here. It does not include the tools, the VHDX tools, just the image, but I can upload that again after we finish the session. And this VMware, by the way, I also downloaded it from Microsoft. So it's really not a special virtual machine. There is nothing special about it. You can just go Windows 10 VM, download, and then you can get them from here. Just select the hypervisor you use. So select the Windows 10 and then select whatever hypervisor you use. I'm using VMware, so that's what I did, and I downloaded that. I'll add these links, by the way, to all of that. There's nothing really different between what I'm covering now and what was shared. Again, the only difference is currently I only shared the E01 because it's fast, and the this text file, because the whole VM with everything inside it, I think it's 20+ gigabytes. So I thought that if you won't have time to download all of that within the time from when I woke up, got these uploaded again until our session. But I will upload them again, so don't worry about that. And the password, by the way, this is the default password that Microsoft uses. This is not the password that I use. It's also, by the way, you can find it here. So again, because I'm not using anything special here, so you can find it over here. Everything else really is the basic VM with those tools. I'll put a list, Leila, for everyone with details with URLs and details from where they can get them.
Okay.
Does that answer all these questions, or is there anything else?
No, that's it. There's a question about live forensics tool, but maybe we'll cover that later on.
Okay. Yeah, we can add. I'll try to finish as fast as possible. Not as fast that you don't learn anything, but I mean, give some time for questions, and you can feel free to reach out to me after the session also. Probably we'll add more to this later. But yeah, I'll try also, by the way, the tools, each tool I'll use, I'll try to explain what that is, give it at least an overview. The idea was to explain the tool while we use it. So Arsenal Image Mounter, from the name, it's just to mount that E01, which is the forensic image, which has a copy of the disk we are investigating. So what this tool will do is it's going to mount the image and have it appear on your computer as if it's another volume on your computer. So if you go, by the way, to this PC, you'll see that we have another drive or another volume connected to your system. It's actually the image which we are investigating. So that's what Arsenal Image Mounter does. FTK Imager is another tool which does the same thing, and it also can be used. It's actually mostly used for acquisition plus mounting. We can use that, but again, there are some, I would say, lack of support for some features. So we recommend, based on also Eric's recommendations and others, to use Arsenal Image Mounter. As you can see here, by the way, these are the hash values computed of the image. Now, this is the hash value of your image. As you can see here, the computed hash with what is stored, they match. So that means the image has not been tampered. We don't have any, same thing. So whether it's MD5 or SHA-1, you can see they were both calculated, and they both match. So that means the evidence has not been tampered, which is what we want. There's no bad sectors or no bad blocks in this image, so that's why you see nothing over here. You can copy this to your answer, so you can say maybe MD5 and this is the answer for MD5, or SHA-1 and put the answer for what you got for SHA-1. Now, one thing I do like to explain here about the E01, probably it's better to explain it a little bit using paint. I'm not good at drawing, so please excuse me if you see my drawing is not the best. But think of the image like this. This is the image. Okay, this is the E01. And inside your E01, we have two things. This is just trying to explain the idea behind the concept behind this. Okay, so this is the image, the E01, the whole file. And within the file, we have the drive which we are imaging, which is image, sorry, that we are investigating, which is now this one, the F drive. Okay, so this is the drive. This one is inside here. So if I just add some details here, let's say this is the F drive. Maybe increase the font a little bit. Okay, and so this is the F drive here. And when FTK was telling you that this is the computed hash and this is the stored verification hash, what does that mean? It means this hash value was actually stored in a metadata section. So this section over here, by the way, I'm gonna try do it this way. So this is the metadata over here, which is the metadata about this forensic image. And what this metadata includes actually is, or one of the things that it includes is these hash values. These hash values are actually stored within this metadata section. So what happens is when you use FTK Imager or any other tool, okay, what happens is it will go and hash the volume again, okay? It will hash the volume again, and then it will compare it with the hash value within this metadata section, okay? And if they match, it will tell you they match. This is totally, by the way, different than you going and saying, I'm gonna hash the whole file. And let's just change that over here with this green color over here. So if you hash, let's say you take the whole file, the E01 file, and you hash it like this, you will get something completely different. But if you like open it within a tool which understands E01 and it can compute the hash value for you, compare it with what is stored in here, and that's actually what we need. If they match, then our data has not been tampered. This is very important because I see all the time, even I would say our freshmen, when they start, they will, when I tell them, give me the hash value, some of them might just go and hash the whole E01 image. So that's one, we've got that done. Let's go move on to the other parts. So the other parts, again, we said we don't know who accessed those files yet. We have two users, so we are confused which one of those accessed the files, but we are talking about documents. So there are certain artifacts which I would say track documents. Now, Microsoft, when they created these tracking features, they didn't really create them for investigators to come and use them for investigations. They created them for user experience. So they created them so the user can later on, if they frequently open a file, or if they just recently opened an application and they want to open it again, or if they open the file and they want to open it again, they can easily go back and find that file or find that application and open it again. So these are features. Microsoft did not add them for investigators, but we are taking advantage of them. So one of them is, if you like right-click over here, which is called jump lists. So we can see jump lists actually are these type of lists which show you what are the files that have been recently opened or frequently opened, or sometimes you can even pin them. If this is a user might pin this document, especially if this document is what they normally use every time they use their system, so they might even pin them. These are all details that we can use to our advantage. And what this means is if a user opened, let's say, a document, then probably we can find it in that jump list. Okay, so we can parse that. That's one. Two, another user artifact related to documents and this type of thing is when you open a document, again, for user experience, Microsoft will create a shortcut, which is what they call an LNK file. So if we let's say parse the details of the LNK files and the jump list, we might find an idea of those artifacts which have been opened, or those documents which have been opened by that user. Now, since we have two users here, I'm going to use a little bit different because I want to copy, I would say, or I want to make sure my tool can pull both of these tools. Okay, there are many ways to do these things. I'm going to do it just one way. It's probably an easy way. Maybe someone has a better way of doing this. So I'm going to pull the two artifacts related to, let's say, the jump list and the LNK files of both users, and then focus on them using different tools which have been created by Eric Zimmerman. So let's put these, minimize them. And if we go to our tools, Eric Zimmerman's tools, and then I already have my PowerShell open. I'm going to use them as administrator. And let me do this. I will, okay. So first thing is let's parse, let's say, not sure if this one can be minimized. Let's just leave it how it is. So first thing is let's parse, let's say, the LNK files. So there's a tool called LECMD. Okay. Now, if you, by the way, just type LECMD and just hit enter, this is also one of the great things about Eric's tools. Is first they have a lot of documentation showing you how to use the tool. So really, it's very easy. Just type the tool name like that. You'll see the help on how to use it. That's one. Two, learning how to use one tool and all those options, by the way, they are the same use across all of his tools. So it's really very easy to memorize, even if I can say it that way, because you don't have to keep trying to memorize different options for different tools, and this switch gives me this feature, this one gives me that. No, they are all using the same thing. So once you, I would say, once you use one and you know how to use it, you can use that for all of the other tools. So first thing is we can use the LECMD to grab those LECMD files, LNK files, excuse me. That's one. Two, if you want to parse a directory, so if, let's say we want to parse the whole directory of links, you can use the D option or the D switch. If you want to parse just a single file, you can just use the F switch. And then if you want to, let's say, convert them to a CSV, your output into a CSV, you can use the CSV. That's what I'm going to do. And again, these are all the, let's say, the different examples that you can use. So it's really straightforward. You don't really need any kind of, I would say, explanation for that, except you need to know where the artifacts is located. So let's go there. I'm going to close this for now. So if we go to users, let me go to view options and make sure, I'm not sure if on your VM I might have forgotten to do this. So make sure you show everything. So go to view, maybe I do this again, go to view options, and then go to view again, and then show hidden files, folders, directories, or drives, hide empty drives. I'm going to list everything, unhide all of them, and hide protected operating system files. I'm also going to uncheck this, so that way we can list everything. So everything is now unhidden, let's say. If we go, for example, to IE user, we just take that one first, and then we are interested in, let's say, LNK. So LNK is located in application data, roaming, Microsoft, and then Windows, and then recent items, or actually it is recent. If we go there, you will find those LNK files. But why are we seeing them empty here is because this directory has a specific GUID, and let's say has a specific feature which is to show or to store these recent items. So the Explorer shell will not allow you to see what's inside them, because the Explorer shell understands them differently than what we are trying to look at them in a different way. So what we can do here is do recent, okay? And if we do that, let me just clear this again, probably, and run the command again. So if we do this, you can see that within that directory, we have two other directories. One is automatic destinations, the other is custom destinations. Those are two directories. We can see that from the attributes over here. And then we can see these are the different LNK files we have over here, okay? So that's for the IE user. We can check the other user, which is Joker. We can see same thing. We have this directory and the other directory, custom and automatic. These are, by the way, the directories where our jump lists are located. So the LNK files are located in let's say the drive letter, users, username, application data, roaming, Microsoft Windows, and then recent, okay? And the jump lists are located within automatic destinations, which are the jump lists which get created automatically by the application, and custom are those that get created by, let's say, the user themselves. Okay, so what do we need to do with this? Let's use now the tool again. So what I'm going to do is, if I use, by the way, just one, let's say one file. So if I do this and then recent, and let's find maybe like just this one. If I run the command against this file, so it will go parse all of this and it'll give me a lot of output. All of these outputs, by the way, all of this details that you're seeing here is stored within this LNK file, okay? And LECMD or Eric's tool is going into this file, which is a binary file, by the way. It has a certain structure. All of the structure, if you want to understand that or go into more details about this, by the way. Also, Eric has a lot of links to them. Or you can just, by the way, search for LNK file format. You will land on the page for that. And I think it's, if I remember, I forgot the name, but it's done by one of the folks working at Google. And I think he wrote a lot of these file formats. He's the one that's writing a lot of these file formats. So Eric parses all of that, but this is for one single file. If we want to parse again the whole directory, so what we will be doing is, I'm going to change this to D, so that way we'll parse the whole directory. That's number one. I'm going to store it in a CSV file, so I'm going to use --CSVF to give it a let's say a name, and I'm going to say LNK, or you can let's actually create a directory on our desktop, so we can this way store our results in there. I know the tool will create that, so let's just do this. Eric's tool, by the way, will do that if the location is not already there. And let's say this is the IE user LNK.csv file. That's what I'm going to call it. Maybe so you can see this. Let me do it this way. Okay. And then the location where I'm going to store this is on my VM's desktop results. That's where I'm going to store this. So what this will do, it's going to go over, and I forgot to put the --CSV. Okay, so now what this is, by the way, it's because minimize the, or I would say, change the screen resolution. This is what's happening. I hope you are able to see what's being done. So what I'm doing is I'm specifying the path where the evidence is located, telling it I want to parse the whole directory. I want the results to be stored in this file. Okay, I want you to put this file as a CSV file in this directory. So if we hit now enter, the tool will go parse all of that, and you can see now it's stored in this file. So that's one. Let's change this. Let's change this to our other user. So we now will change this to Joker and say this is our Joker user. Okay, same location, but the user is different now. Okay, what did I do? Yeah, all good. And then we want it in the same location. We can do that. So now we are storing these CSV files in, let's bring this over here. In this directory, we can see we have the files over here. That's one. Let's go to the tools again, because Eric also, again, like I said, you can run really the whole Windows forensic session here just using Eric's tools. You really don't need anything else. But sometimes it's good to see other tools, maybe. That's up to you, especially if you are learning, and also probably if you are validating, even though I would say even in times where bugs were found, if you just send them to Eric, he will respond immediately, or like in minutes. I've seen that over the years, and he'll respond back and fix that, or he will ask you for a data set or a sample to do the test and get that fixed. So here we can see that now we have the LNK files for this user, and we have the LNK files for the other user. So you can see these are listed in a tool called Timeline Explorer. Now, what this Timeline Explorer is, in the past, I would say, at least for I speak for myself, we mostly tend to use an Excel sheet to open these CSV files and parse them and do filtering and searching in them. That could all be done today with Timeline Explorer. So you really don't need Excel. So if you even don't have a license for Microsoft Excel, you don't need that. This is far better, in my opinion, than that. And I'm not sure I will be able to let's say show all of, or showcase all of the features of it, because we don't have time for all of that. But Eric has a lot of.
Yes, I have a question. So is this timeline, is this the big timeline or not yet?
No, this is not not the super timeline, if that's what you are talking about.
Yes. Okay, so we're still in this phase because what?
Yeah, go ahead, Leila.
Because people are still following up. So we are now in which stage in the investigation?
Still pulling out some data related to document activity or user activity related to documents.
Okay. Yes, a general step, just looking what has been going in terms of files, right? Activities by the two users.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. All right. So yeah, the super timeline or big timeline, yes, I know.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet.
Okay, good.
Shall I continue?
Yes, if you want me, I have two questions. Maybe they will enrich the discussion. We have so many questions, so just to. So, is there any better approach for considering? Because this image has more than one user profile, is there a better approach to compare or to look at the different activities or to compare between different users? Or this is...
You mean by pulling the data out and looking at them?
I think so. This is the question by Emmy. Her question is there any better approach if that's a server image? Because a server image would have more users, I think.
again, then that's the funny thing is you can also use, Eric has another tool called Cape, and you can I would say configure Cape to go pull the artifact, the exact artifacts that you need from every single user and every single location that you're interested in. This approach is more of a, let's say, an educational one. So that's we go parse each one. But if you know what you're doing and you want to speed things up, then I would say go use Cape and pull all the artifacts that you need, and then just focus on them.
Okay.
I hope that
questions
answers.
on. Okay, we'll see if Ami wants to add more. We have 2 questions on the link file. The first one is the .link file is in any way related to soft hard link, as we say in Linux. This is number 1. Number 2, what does MAC address in Linux files mean? What if computer have 2 network cards?
Can you repeat that again, please? I might have missed one.
Okay, the first question is the file, the link file, is in any way related to the soft hard link, as we say in Linux?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's not a hard link, it's a soft link.
Okay, this is number 1. Number 2, what does MAC address in the link files mean? What if computer have 2 network cards?
I would say it will depend on which. Probably they will both be listed there. I haven't seen that, honestly, so I'm not sure if they will be both listed, but they might be, or the one that I would say the main MAC address could be listed. I'll need to see a case with that there, so I can validate that or provide I would say an accurate answer to that.
I have a question. Actually, it's been a while since I worked on this. The MTF, the master table file. We can see that information from the timeline explorer on the files that one has been created, modified, etc. Or do we need to take anything into consideration when we look at the time and dates?
You mean the LNK files?
Yes.
Excuse me, Leila. Do you mean the LNK files themselves?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, you can definitely find them in the MFT. You can find them over there, or you can just find them in the artifact itself. It's really up to you. I would say file system forensics is a little bit not that easy. People try to avoid, and if you probably ask a lot of investigators, not many really dive. I don't know. There is no like survey that says how many people dive into that much of details. How many not? It will depend on really the case you have. But it's a complicated, much more complicated than looking at the artifacts on the OS layer, because the more you dig deeper to reach the disk layer, so the more you reach the disk layer, the more I would say it's going to be more complicated. We are here looking at the artifacts on the operating system layer, which is much easier for us as humans. The more you go down that path, like from OS to the file system, from the file system to the volume, from the volume to the disk, etc., the more it will be more complicated. But that doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means to require more time, probably, depending.
Thank you. Sorry for interruption, but I think now we answered the questions we have.
Okay. Let me try to, by the way, try to answer as much questions.
I know, but the questions are accumulating, so you just got to this.
And one note, people are still asking about the VM image, the links. So all of these details will be shared after the session. And yeah, we pointed that out at the beginning of the session, but for the people who joined in late, These details will be shared after the session. So please follow up on the instructions. Follow doctor, and you can practice by yourself after the session. One note also about the resolution and if you can increase the font. If anyone is facing any issue, please follow us on the live stream. Maybe it's better there. So thank you. Yeah, doctor.
I just so I be honest and clear with everyone attending here. I have another appointment immediately after our session, so I will leave. Once I get back home, I will find a way to upload all the material for everyone who's attending or who was not able to attend. So I will get that done, but I won't get that done immediately after the session. Okay, so just
not immediately, don't worry.
Yeah,
Please,
please. Just because I won't be home after this, I will just share everything I do later on. Okay. So what I'm going to do here is actually just combine those two. We have two LNK files now, as you saw here, in two CSV files, this one and this one. And I just want to combine them so we can look at them as one single CSV. So I found this way, we can do it this way. I will share also let's say the way this is being done, the command in the document, because it wasn't really in the document. I also found the script to do another thing, which I will also be sharing. All of this will be shared again, so whoever is following, don't worry about that. Okay. So what I want to do here is I want to combine those two CSV files into one file. So that way I can load them as one file in Timeline Explorer. I know you might be saying, why don't I just do copy and use the binary switch, etc. The only reason I'm using this is each CSV will have the header with the table entries for each one of them. So this way I can do it without worrying about that problem. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is just combine these into one single file. Say call it users_lnk.csv. Parameter cannot be found. What is here? So why is this? Oh, okay. There's a. Okay, we have now one CSV file, as you can see here. Even the size is twice the size. So now what we can do is load that one. So if we go to open, desktop, results, and open the users one. So we don't need these anymore. I'm going to close them. I can now look at these by their own. You can see that these are IE users, and these are from the Joker one. You can even, by the way, like even click on them and do some conditional highlighting. So you can just say text contains, maybe. It's really up to you. This is just some of the features that you can add. Let's call this green, apply that. So this way, these are green and these are in some other format. It's up to you really how you want to do this. So if we look at these and we want to see which user was accessing some documents here. So if we go to the file or the local path, so you can see here the common path. We can see here these are some documents which have been accessed. These are on the other side, our other user. So we can see the user in gray, which is the IE user now, has opened images, while the user in green has opened confidential documents. So we have now one proof, by the way, that the user Joker, that's the user, okay, that has opened these files. Okay, and again, we can see that in this location over here in the common path. You can see that. And by the way, if there's, let's say, if this entry you're not interested in it, you can just say hide that. So this way you can hide this column. You can just hide it if you're not interested in it. If you want to group your columns, so for example, I know there's a question later on in the document saying were the files accessed from local drive or from a remote drive or a remote share. So we can see the device type. Again, we can see if it's a fixed storage or if it's something different. We can just right-click and say group by this. So now what happened is if we go back here, we can see based on the drive type, we can see that these are the documents or everything that was opened from a remote network or over the network. So if we go over here, you can see these were opened from a remote location or from another location, while these are all open from a local location. Okay, and again, which user? These are the ones in green, so it's clear we are now dealing with the user Joker. Okay, so that's answer to part number 1. So that's one artifact which gives us idea of which user opens which kind of documents. We'll go over others. Let's go use another tool. Let me open this one, another, because I don't want to keep jumping back and forth. And if we go to, okay, so this time what we want to do is I want to open the LNK files. So the LNK files are those shortcuts. We want to open those and see what kind of details do we have inside them. So we can use a tool called, actually we did the LNK files. Let's do the jump list, sorry. We already did LNKs. Let's use jump list. Okay, so we can do, by the way, a jump list explorer, or you can use the jump list explorer, the CMD one. So if you want to run them from the command line, you can use this. But if you want to, let's say, open them in jump list explorer, which I want to just show you a different way. Not everything is. Eric has, I would say, the core of the tools, and then he builds either a command line interface or a GUI interface around his tools. So this is one of the other tools that we can use. If we go and try to load again the F and go to users, go to, let's say, iUser, application data, roaming, and then go to Microsoft, go to Windows, and then if you try to go here to see, we can't see even the recent directory. Even if you try, you won't be able to see that. You can't see them over here. So the way to work around this is I found a script that I will upload to also the shared drive, okay, or wherever I'm going to share this data. Create JLs or LNK for jump lists. That's what I'm going to call it. And then if I just copy, I'm just also going to go, by the way, copy where this was got from. So if you go to Stack Overflow, this is actually from where I got this script. It's really not mine. It will create a symbolic link for, as you can see here, let me maximize this a little bit. So it's gonna, let me just put these over here so you can see them. I'm gonna create symbolic link for first the user, Joker, roaming, Microsoft, Windows, recent automatic destinations. That's where our first jump lists are located. And then the custom destinations, that's also where our jump list is also located. I want to put them all as LNK files or symbolic links. Okay, so it's really just a wrapper around the make link. So if you know how to script make link, do that. If you don't, this is one other way of doing that. And then I'm going to store the results on my C users I desktop. Let's put this in results directory. So this is going to be over here. Okay. And since we are interested in 2 users, not just one, okay, we are interested in 2 users. So I'm going to also change this to the IE user, right? Because we want to pull both of these users. And by the way, one of the questions which one of you asked earlier was, how can I like automate this, or if I have a server with multiple users? I would say use Cape. Cape has lots of ways to configure this. Like you don't really need to type in the user. You'll just use the variable for the users, and then it will go and then it will parse all of those for you for each single location. And actually, most of them is really just clicks if you use the GUI tool as well. So this is one way of doing this, but it's really up to you. Now I'm gonna, why did I even save it as .txt? I'm gonna save it as PS1. Yep. And now let's go to, so jump list explorer, okay, and we want to run our create symbolic links. So it's gonna create the links, okay. Forget about the saying that the file is already exists. It's talking about, by the way, the directory which we created now within the results. This directory, it's telling you that it already exists. So what this did is it created LNK files pointing to those jump lists. And now what I can do is I can just go grab all of them from that directory. So I can just say, do this, and these might have some errors in them, so that's why they cannot be parsed. And this way, now I can grab all of them, whether for the Joker user or the other user, IE user, and have them all in front of me. As you can see here, we have this quick access, we have Notepad. These are some of the applications, if the ID is already known, because each application has a unique identifier, which Eric also tracks, and I think a lot of other people also track. You can find them online. If the tool knows what type of application you are dealing with, then the application ID will appear, the application name, sorry, will appear over here. So you'll know that I'm dealing with Notepad, and this is a jump list for Notepad, which I mean, this is Notepad. I'm sure everyone knows that. So if this is a jump list for Notepad, by the way, then it's going to be over here. If it's for Edge, this is what Edge, the jump list for Edge are, etc. Okay, you can see also each one of them is showing you how many links are within those jump lists, because those jump lists, you can look at them as they are, it's a, let's say, it's a big file with a lot of other links within them pointing to other locations. So it's telling you also how many links you have within those locations. Now, in here, for example, we can see WordPad, and we can see this is for the user Joker, okay? We can see that this user accessed all these confidential documents. So we have actually now 2 evidence that the user Joker accessed these confidential documents. One was on from his computer or her computer or whatever, and one the others were from a network share, which is the 192.168.70.128. So we can see all of these files. Now also, if you look at these, probably if you look at the timestamps, by the way, for them, you can infer from them that probably this file was first accessed and then copied to the Joker system, and then the user opened them on their system. So we can, by the way, just by looking at the timestamps, okay, we can infer that this is probably, they are the same file, and this file was first located on the network, and then it was copied to the drive or to the user's drive and access from there. And again, this is how you'll find these jump lists. If you look at any one of them, for example, maybe if you look at PuTTY, you can see what is the path or what location maybe PuTTY was accessing. So you can see that PuTTY was accessed from this location, and so on and so forth. So even like here, this browser, this image, sorry. So you can see here that the user Joker also accessed a document called haha.png. This case, by the way, was created by myself. So we can see all of these details in here, which prove when was, which user was accessing this, that's one. And then from where was this also file accessed, okay? Let's continue. So these are different details you can see here. By the way, for each entry, these are all different features available within those jump list or link files, which again, Eric's tools parse automatically and provide them to you. So it's telling you when was this file created, when was this file last modified. These are all being, by the way, extracted from this jump list. All of these data flags, each one of them means something, by the way. Each one of them will mean if there's a list, if there's, let's say, more paths to go dig deeper and parse them. All of these are details. Eric's tool automatically will parse them for you. You can see the file size, icons, show window. So when you open this application, whether this window will like automatically expand or it will be minimized. These are all listed over here. The absolute path, the local path, all of these details are available. Now, they will be different, by the way, depending on the type of file we are dealing with and the type of details available to you. So now we have two evidence. So if you were to, let's say, put some, let's say, screenshot into your report, for example, I do prefer to use a tool which is called, I keep forgetting the name, Snip and Sketch, because based on a recommendation from my son, actually, it will give you better, I would say, the resolution is better, and you can, like, for example, here you can then highlight on them. You can say highlight this and stuff like that. So you can add the highlights you want, and like even if you, and you can, the good thing also about this, by the way, you can use multiple colors. You can expand. I'll leave that to you to check that out. But again, you can use this and then copy this into your report. So if we want to answer the first, this is Joker. We have proof. We have this proof number 1, but we definitely can add the LNK proof. We didn't add that. You can do that later. Just because I want to be thoughtful of the time, and I'm trying to cover as much as I can in this session. So we have two artifacts which gave us answers about that, but still we can get more. So let's go dig into providing more, let's say, results for more artifacts and more details. Let's use another tool called Registry Explorer. Now, since we know which user we are dealing with, we can just dive into that user, pull the data we are interested in, and focus on that. Now, I would say all of the users' preferences, configuration, the changes that the user does on the user level are mostly, I would say, 99%. I don't want to say 100 just because I might be wrong. 99%, they will be stored in a registry file within the user's home directory called ntuser.dat. So if we go and say we want to load that file, so if we go to users, and then now we know which user we are interested in. So if we go to Joker, and then we get this ntuser.dat file and open it. Again, Eric automatically will parse this registry hive for you with all of the details inside. This is, by the way, if you open, for example, let me just give you an idea what this is. So if we open Reg editor, and if we go, for example, to a specific user, so let's say we are dealing with this user, okay, and then this is the details, by the way, if you can see here, this is the details that will be available to you underneath what Eric has automatically parsed for you. Okay, so this is the details that will be, Eric will, this is, again, this is stored, by the way, in that end user.dat file, but for the running system, for sure, not the Joker user, but just for the idea, okay? And all of the entries that you see in here, they are the same ones that have been parsed automatically for you. You can use now Eric's tool to dig into them and analyze them. So they are just giving you a map. Now you might say, what about this? This is volatile, so it will not be available once you turn off your system. So that's one about how good this tool is. Two, most of the tools, most of these hives have a lot of bookmarks, and you can also, by the way, create your own bookmark. So if, let's say, you find some interesting artifact and you want to bookmark that, and let's say you're working with a team, you can then share that with your team. But by coincidence, by the way, I'm not sure how my mouse pointed to this, but anyway, we can see that these are, by the way, all different bookmarks. These bookmarks will take you directly to locations where, let's say, if you are looking for details about CD-ROM burning, if you just click on that, it will take you there. If you are looking about, let's say, recent documents, which we are looking for information about that, just by clicking on it, it will take you there. Now that's one. Two, lots of these bookmarks, or lots of the tool, what it does, it has a lot of, by the way, plugins built in them. So these, by the way, the results you can see over here. I know this one is, I can't minimize this, or I can move it around. Okay, let's put this down here. And okay, so you can see now better. So by just clicking on recent documents, by the way, you can see all of these results. But these results really are being parsed by a plugin. He has a plugin which automatically goes into each one of these sub keys. So there's a sub key for documents, there's a sub key for PDFs, PNG, RTF, and folders. So you can see recent docs. This Windows registry location or key is actually tracking all of those documents, and it's also categorizing them based on the type of document we are dealing with. So docx, we can see those, PDF, PNG, RTF, etc. So we also, just by looking in here, we can see the files that have been accessed. So we can see the file, or the underneath the target file, which is what the file, this link or this entry is pointing to. So we can see that this is the file, and this also gives us another proof that these confidential documents were accessed by this user. If you say, I don't want to look at the plugin, you can just go by each recent document, and then looking inside each key. So if we go to document X, we can see them, and we can see even each one of them has a value, because these are part of what is called a most recently used list, MRUs, and they are being parsed and displayed to you in that order. And as you can see here, even this is another thing about MRUs, by the way, you can see here that number 2 was, let's say, probably the last one created, but it was the last, the one that's in this opened. It's the last one that was opened, so that's why the ID, you can see it was 0 over here, and you can see these LNKs, or these entries, actually will track the last one which was open. So we can see actually that confidential 04 was the last one opened when we talk about document X files. and this is the date when it was opened, and this is when I created this this case. If we
Doctor,
go to
sorry, Doctor, there are a few questions relevant to this. Maybe we need just to pause for some of these quick questions. They are relevant to the time zone, if the tool, if we can capture the time zone, and if the modification and creation date can be tampered with. So I don't know how if we can take these questions quickly, Doctor. And if we can also get these details with the FTK imaging.
Okay, so
Yeah,
time zone, time zone, you can either, if let's say whoever gives you the image tells you about that, that's good. If it's not given to you, then what we can do is we can go to Windows System 32 and then go to config. Let's open this and okay, and then go select system. So let me open that and show you a little bit about the time zone. And then if we go to select the Hive, which is the system, again, there is also a bookmark for it. And if we go to time zone information, you can go over here and you can see the time zone which was being used over here. So we can see here, by the way, it's using the PST time zone. So the PST time zone is the one that is actually being used. That's one. Two, to make sure you understand, let's say, whether daylight saving is active or not, how you can interpret this is look at the bias value, which is 480, and look at the active time bias is also 480, and we have the daylight bias, which is -60. Now, if daylight saving was active, by the way, then we will see the active time bias will be 420 because we need to subtract that from 480, and that means we have UTC -7 instead of -8. This is what this is how you can interpret that. This is one. Two, these information, by the way, is being pulled from the tzres.dll file, which if you go to the if let's say when you reference the -12, -211 or -212, if you just, by the way, search for this online, say time zone, and put tzres, which is, I think it stands for time zone resolution .dll, then you'll see that the -211 stands for the PDT, which is when daylight saving in Pacific daylight saving is active. And if you go to -12, 212, I mean, that's when it means to Pacific Standard Time. So that's how you can get the time zone information about that. Otherwise, it might be just given to you.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. The second question is about how we can make sure that the creation date or modification date of the files are not tampered with.
You'll need to, that's, I would say you'll need to probably, you mean the time zone is not tampered or the file itself? Those are two different things, by the way.
And the files, yeah, so it's more relevant to the files, the modification dates and.
So that means dates. Now we are digging into, again, we are moving away from the OS layer, going down to the file system layer, and that means we need to, since we are talking about NTFS, then NTFS has actually for each file a two set of attributes, and each attribute we can compare them. If those time zones were modified, you can probably notice that. Also, you can use the log file for NTFS because it's a journal file, so you can use the attributes with the log file and find if there is any modifications in there. Now, it's not that much, it's easy said than done, but just to answer that question currently.
Thank you, Doctor. The last question is about FTK imaging. Can we do the same job on get the same details with FTK imaging?
Such as?
let's say the time, the jump list, timeline explorer.
I wouldn't use, by the way, FTK Imager to parse files, because even though it does have a hex editor, I wouldn't say even it's really a hex editor, but it's a hex viewer. So for example, if we go to users and let's go to Joker, for example, if you select decode this, let's say, executable, you can see it's listing them as in hex below, because we can say list it in hex view or in whatever view. If it's a text file, for example, or an image, we can say list that. So we can have FTK listed in its own natural viewer, but like an exe, we can't do that because it will need to be executed. So you can do this. That's one. Two, you can also, for example, use the hex interpreter. So you can, for example, like select some values and get them interpreted over here. If these are times, then they will be automatic. So as long as you know, let's say, where exactly where exactly those bytes which represent the timestamp are located, you can definitely do what jump list or LECMD, all of those tools are doing. But that's the good thing about those tools. They do them automatically for you. You can do this, but again, it's not an ideal way of looking at them. You can also, for example, look at, once you select a file, you can look at these properties. Those are also different features. Some of them, like here, is telling you what is the MFT record. If you are interested about file system related data, it's telling you whether it's resident, which means whether it's stored within the MFT or it's stored outside the MFT. A lot of really different details, but these are all going to go dive into, I would say, file system layer, which is very advanced, or I would say it will require more work than just to go click and do a couple of things easily like what we are doing now. And again, I don't recommend using FTK for this type of work. You can use it just for the sake of, let's say, testing or just to see something quickly or check. But I would recommend using the best tool for the best to get the job done.
Thank you.
Continue.
We can move on. Yeah.
Great. So we have now we found in the Windows registry. Again, we found in the Windows registry proof that the files were accessed. We found LNK files, proof that the files were accessed. We found jump lists that prove the files were accessed. We can also prove that, let's say, the user, if we want to maybe add more, use that certain executable. So what we can do is use another tool. So where is, okay. So we can do parse, which is prefetch files. So we're going to use PCMD, and I will use another tool just so that again you can look at different tools and use them. I do recommend Derek's tools because of the accuracy of them, the updates, the new features he adds all the time. But it's really up to you what tool you use. I always even tell my students, it's not really about the tool, it's about understanding where those artifacts are located and knowing how to extract them, parse them, and use them to your advantage. Definitely the good tool will make your job much easier, but that's up to you which tool you use. So let's create another CSV file. I'm going to call them prefetch.csv, okay, minus CSV. And I'm going to also store them on my users, i.e. desktop results. And we can parse all of those and then load them While this is being parsed, by the way, let's use another tool, just like I said, so you don't say I'm just using these. There are other tools like Win Prefetch Viewer. I do recall it has some bugs, but let's just give it a try. So this is a GUI. Currently, what it's, by the way, loading, just in case. This is loading the prefetch files on the running machine. So what you need to do is you need to change it to your the path where your image is located. So ours is on the F, so you can just say F and leave everything as it is. It's going to automatically also parse them for you. It's going to list, by the way, in local time. So if you want to switch to UTC or GMT, just go here and then you'll switch between local time and GMT. So here, one of the things that we saw is, if we go back to our, let's just pick this in the user and then go recent docs, okay? So one of the things is we noticed that we opened these documents were RTF, so they were using the Word document, WinWord, excuse me, and we also saw that, by the way, in WinWord. So we saw it in the jump list that the WinWord was opened. So let's see that in prefetch files. And now you might be asking what a prefetch file is. Again, these are not things that Microsoft is using to track you as a user, even though they technically are, but they are for user experience. The idea behind, I would say briefly, what a prefetch file is, once you load an application, sometimes that application requires a lot of setup, requires a lot of files calling, I need this library, I need this library, go fetch me this file, etc. And there's a lot of, let's say, behind the scene, a lot of setup the system needs to prepare for this application in order to get it ready for the user. So these prefetch files, what happens is the system is automatically, there's a service running in the background. It's monitoring your execution. So when you first time, let's say, double click on an application or you run an application, what will happen is this service, which is running in the background, is monitoring what's happening within those couple of seconds, 6 seconds, etc. And then it's going to save those in a file which is called the prefetch file. So we can use that prefetch file as proof that this executable was actually executed. Now, one thing to keep in mind about prefetch files is they are across the whole system. They are not for a single user, not like the jump list, what we saw, if you remember, the jump lists, the locations, they point to a specific location within the home directory of the user. So we know these artifacts are from Joker or from IE user, etc. But this one is pulled from the Windows prefetch directory. So these are for the whole system, so we need to keep that in mind. One of the good things is to probably use that and track when the user was logged in and try to match, was this application executed within the time frame the user has been logged in. And also one important thing about user login is at the end, by the way, you can prove a user has been logged in. We can definitely do that. But you can't prove that. So for example, you can't prove that it was me who logged in, because someone might have, let's say, stole my password and used it to log in. So you can't, I would say, you can't put me behind the keyboard. And there's a good book about that. I highly recommend, if you just Google it, you can find it. There's a good book about like putting the suspect behind the keyboard. I would say go and find that book, because again, you will not be putting me behind the keyboard. You're actually proving that this user is the user that actually accessed this the user that has logged into the system. Okay, so that keep that in mind. Okay. And any questions? So I can just.
Yeah, we got one now. According to you, which tool is best for Windows, Linux, Mac, forensic? I don't know if that's relevant. Which tool is best for Windows, Linux, and Mac for forensics purposes?
I didn't understand that, honestly.
Yeah, maybe you can repeat the question again. Always was asking.
Okay.
Okay, how to deal with C Cleaner program that cleans up the registry entries?
Okay, CC Cleaner?
Yes, but I don't know if that's relevant to our topic again, Doctor.
It's fine. I will just give it my answer to that. So it will depend on the options you've used. At the end, though, you can think of the Windows registry as a file system, by the way, and look at those. If I go back here a little bit, and you can look at these, you can look at the keys as folders and look at the values as files within those keys. So when you delete, so what CC Cleaner will do is will go and delete those files, so or those entries. So when you delete those, unless they have been wiped, okay, then if you know the structure of the registry files and how to parse, how to find them and how to parse them, then probably you can carve those registry, those entries out and analyze them again.
Right.
If I go, yeah.
Yeah, go on, Dr.
Shall I continue?
Yes, there are some questions that are generic a bit, so we can leave them till the end, so we can move on.
Okay.
Leave these generic questions till the end. Yeah.
Great. By the way, the book I was mentioning, I just because I'm trying to focus on the workshop, so I just forgot the author's name. I apologize to Brett. The book is authored by Brett Shavers, so if you are interested in that, also go check it out. And also Brett has the dfir.training website, which is a really good resource if you want to check for different details related to digital forensics and incident response. Okay, so sorry, Brett, I forgot your name just because a lot of things going now inside my head. Okay, so we saw that again those RTF documents were accessed. So if we check WordPad, by the way, we can see just by clicking on any of this, by the way, you can see that it will list all the files that have been accessed by this executable, and you can like just filter them or sort them out, and you can see that the WordPad was actually used to access the user's Joker confidential.rtf RTF file. So that document, LNK proves it was accessed, jump list proved it was accessed, the registry proved it was accessed, and we also now can see that the WordPad also proves it was accessed. If we go back, because I know by now this has finished. So if I go back to Timeline Explorer and load the file, so if we load prefetch, and if we go, for example, and search for WordPad.exe, you can see it will automatically be listed here, and it's, as you can see, it will also filter them. This is a really good thing about Eric's tool. You can see how the executable is named. You can see how many times this executable was run, the run count. It's also available here, just for the record. It's also saying 5. Not that I didn't, I just didn't mention this. So you can even track how many times this executable was executed. You can see also when, let's say, the last time this executable was accessed, the previous, it will track a couple of times how many on Windows 10. I think they are 8, if I'm not wrong. And it will then, if you go to the end, it will show you, if you double click on this, by the way, it will list all of the files that have been accessed by that executable. You can either take them out like this, like copy them and go to Notepad and just paste them here and then dig deeper into them. Or now, since you are interested in this executable, what you can do is actually go back to Eric's tool again. Go back, and this time, instead of doing the D, using the F and say WordPad. Okay, and then we don't need this anymore. We can just dump it over here, the results, and you can see also here, it will list those files that were accessed for you. You can also, by the way, if I just, let me just remember the keyword, I think it's -K, exactly. So if, let's say, you know what you're exactly looking for, you know the keyword, because Eric has some built-in keywords, especially like TMP, etc. They will get highlighted for you. So you know the exact keyword, and let's say we know we want to look for confidential. So if we say let's just do this, for example, and if we run it now, what it will do is it's going to highlight, as you can see here, it's going to highlight that entry for you. Same thing, by the way, but what this is doing is it's parsing just one single prefetch file. It's telling you this is the command line that you used. These are the keywords. Like I said, these temp, TMP, those are built in. Eric has them built in. It's telling you which file has been processed. It's telling you when was this file created. So the creation time, by the way, infers when was the first time this executable was executed. Modification time, let's say when the executable was executed next time, that's maybe one. If there were changes, it will be modified. And here, because it's showing that now we are accessing it, so it's telling us that it's being accessed on July 4th, which is today. It's telling you the executable name, the hash value, which is a kind of a hash for each executable. There's a complex algorithm behind it that gets used to calculate those executables. I would say basically, if they are run probably from 2 different locations, they might have 2 different hash values. It's telling you the file size, and it's telling you also that this is for Windows 10. The run count is 5. It's telling you the first, or let's say, going back from the most recent, and then going back from there. Where is it located? All of these are in the directories that have been parsed or found within that prefetch file. These are all listed over here. So that's for those questions. If you now, like again, like I said, we can prove that Joker was used. We have the LNKs here. We have the recent documents in the mtuser.dat from the Windows registry. You can answer those. Was it from a local drive or a network drive? We saw that the user accessed both of them. The user accessed some jump lists from, some files from the network and some files from the local drive. So you can add those answers over here. What proofs you have to support your? You can just go and explain that, or what I have been talking about. Now, list all files that were accessed. Here, I just want you to go take those files out and list them. Provide 2 evidence that prove that. We actually provided more than 2, so we are good to go with that. Which application was used to open any of the confidential documents? We saw that RTF, those RTF documents were used, WinWord was used to open them. So the answer for here is when Word, okay, .exe was used to open that. The next three questions are related to the image with this text found in the user directory. Here really just added more to just make sure, let's say, whoever is working on this case, this was a case that I gave to my students definitely, that they use also different tools and understand what their working is. What's the full path for the file of interest? So if we go back to Windows F users Joker, and this was the image, by the way, that has that text in there. We saw it actually in FTK Imager. It's definitely not a good idea to double click on it. So, but I know it's an image, that's why I did that. So the full path will be this, but this will be over here, and this will be haha.png, and it's going to be like C. Now it's F just because that's where it's mounted on. What is the volume serial number where the file exists? This one actually you can see that in the LNK. So if you go back here, by the way, and I'm not sure if we hided that or not, but let's see. Where is? Let's see if I actually. There's nothing selected. These are LNKs, right? No, I don't need the filter here. I just need to ungroup them. Let's see what happened here. Show group by this column. I don't want that because I don't see the file attributes, volume. Yeah, volume serial number. Here it is. Okay, great. So group by this column, we can do that. So we were interested in the file called, let me just maximize this again, a file called haha.png will automatically be selected. So we can see here that this is the volume serial number. You can do this, by the way, or since you know which file you are interested in, then you can just go run LNK LECMD against that specific file, and it will automatically also get that serial number for you. So you can also do that. Where is our questions here? So we have that. What are the modified access and creation mark timestamps in UTC for the file? So what you can do here, this is one question that could be answered with FTK Imager if you want, is by just clicking on the image. Excuse me. And if you just go, by the way, over here, you can see that these are the date when it was accessed, date when it was created, date when it was modified. Okay, so you can see that automatically in here. So those are, by the way, the answers to that question. The decode.exe application was used by one of the users. Provide evidence to the next 4 questions below. Be careful, this is a tricky question. It's really the idea here, what I did is, if you look, so decode.exe is an executable. So what we need to do, if we look at prefetch files, so if we look at prefetch files, let's go to the beginning and say decode. We don't see any tool called decode being executed. That's not available. But we do see this dd.exe executable. That's one. But how do we prove that they are the same tool? So what happens here is the reason why I said it's tricky. is what happened is probably the user Joker copied this file, named it dd.executable, and then ran that executable. You can think of this as a way to masquerade whatever the user was planning on doing. So that way, when you search for that executable, you won't find it. But what we can do here is, because we didn't find it in prefetch, so what we can do is use a hex editor. We use at the college, and I would say everywhere, the 010 editor. You can download a trial version for 30 days. And what I will do is I'm going to open those files. So if I go and open those two files, users, and then Joker, and then open DD and decode. So let's open them. So we have these two files. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a comparison between them. Okay. So what we can do is do compare files. So we want to compare these, and I'm going to do a byte by byte. There are, as you can see here, lots of other options if you want to tweak around and play with it. So we're going to compare decode with DD. If we do the comparison, it did a comparison and it's telling you it's a match. There is no modifications in there. That's one. Two, we can also do checksums. So we can do a checksum for calculating the MD5 and let's say SHA-1 for both of them. And just my timer. And we can see that these are the MD5 and the SHA for both of them. Now, let's say, just an example to prove that this is being calculated, or the, let's say, the comparison is being done correctly. Let's say you go and modify this byte. Let's say you do like AA, just something like that. And now if I do a comparison again, so if I do a compare between them again, I want to compare byte by byte and do a comparison. See the tool, what it's telling you? This is, by the way, 010 has a lot of great features. I might do a whole series about how to use it, because again, we use it a lot at the college. You can see the good thing about this is telling you that from this location to this location, by the way, the size is the files are a match. But we have over here, and it's highlighting those are the 2 bytes which are actually different. And then it's also telling you everything else after that are also a match. So even if those files were not a match, or if they were modified in a simple way, you can do that. There are definitely more better ways to do that. More ways, I would say, to compare 2 executables especially. But this is a basic way to do that with a 010 editor. So if I go back to the questions, which user did run this application? If we look at the executable, it was run by, it was in the Joker's directory, that's one. We just need to make sure that the time when the user Joker was logged in maps with the time of the execution, or it's within that time frame. So that proves that. And you can get that, by the way, from the SAM file, which is another registry file that tracks all of the different user details, details about the user. So that's one. Also, how many times was it used? Again, we can see that here, how many times it was used. The run counter says 1. You can also use PECMD to do that. This is, again, just another way, just so you don't say I'm biased, even though I am biased to Eric's tools, to be honest with you. When was it last used? You can find that over here, which is when was this last used, and where was this application located. You can just go and put that full path over there, which is it was in C users Joker and then dd.exe. So that's I would say it for the session. I tried, I would say, to go over the tools, why we use them, a little bit about details about why we are parsing this information, how you can combine all of this together. The only thing probably we didn't do is do like a super timeline. You can do that, or what I would recommend, by the way, that's my opinion. is you can, especially if you have two systems or two workstations to work with, it depends on where you work and your work environment. But we do have that. So what I can do is have a super timeline being generated while I go and look at the artifacts in, let's say, the different locations, one by a time, depending on what am I looking for, what am I trying to answer, etc. And then once the super timeline is available, I will just pull that in and look at that and figure everything out in a chronological kind of order. So yeah, that's it for the session. I think we have a couple of minutes left if there's any question that I can quickly answer.
So I was talking on mute. Thank you so much, Doctor, for the wonderful workshop. That's really fruitful. There are many questions coming in the chat. One question about if there's a tool, a recommended tool that can work across all platforms like Linux, Mac, and Windows. If there's a tool you would recommend that's compatible with all platforms, what is it?
It will have to be a commercial tool. I don't know of like a open source tool that can do that. But if you are talking about a commercial tool, then Axiom, Magnet, Axiom, I know it does Windows, Mac, and also even mobile. And even a couple of months ago, they announced that now it does Linux. We also use Axiom at the college, and it's a really great tool, by the way. It also makes your life easier. This is, by the way, not kind of any. I don't work for Axiom, so I'm not trying to sell you Axiom, but we use Axiom at the college. I would say we have most of the tools at the college, but again, we do not tell our student which exact tool to use. We show them the tools, then it's up to you to use it. Just give me the answer, because regardless what tool you use, you should come up with the same exact answers. So Axiom is what I would say can do all three, Windows, Linux, and Mac.
Yeah, some people are asking about that book that you have just mentioned. I think I have shared that in the chat for everyone. So I hope you can.
I will add the book. I will add a couple of books and a couple of websites. I know Elan has a good website as well. So you have DFIR.training. That's a good resource. It's an excellent resource. Elan, which if you Google, if you search on Twitter, DFIR Diva, that's what her handle is. She also keeps update. There's also the monthly focus on digital forensics, where there are lots of names, by the way, so I do apologize to those folks out there that I don't remember their names. What he does is really a great thing, is he monitors all of the, let's say, the blog posts, all of the research that gets published every week, every month, and just summarize them for you. I highly recommend you check that out. I will add those into the list. And also Cyber5W, but that's probably a shameful plug-in here. Our courses, some of them are free, some of them are not. You can also check that. One thing I can say about C5W is if you're a student and you can't afford any of our courses, please just send me an email and I will waive that course for you. So you'll get it for free.
Impressive. Impressive, Doctor. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ali.
Welcome.
There are questions about the dumping the memory, how to do a memory dump if the machine was infected by a ransomware.
If the machine is
infected by a ransomware, how do we do memory dump?
Then you will need a tool which can be used to memory dump. Belkasoft has a good tool for memory acquisition. Magnet Forensics also. By the way, these are free tools. Belkasoft has one. Magnet also has one. FTK imager could also be used. It's probably a little bit tricky because it might not support all of them. I know the I forgot the name of the tool, but the company is called Comain. I know they are rebranding their work or something like that. I think they took their tool offline and they are planning on reintroducing it. It's one of the great tools. It's a command line. It's a command line tool. The good thing, by the way, about I forgot the name. I will add that to the document. The good thing about that and the Magnet forensics tool is they have no GUI, so the amount of, I would say, the amount of changes that they make to your system is very minimal. So that way, not like FTK because it's a GUI tool, so that way it will do some modifications to your memory. So it's better to use some tool that will kind of do less modifications to your memory as possible.
Yeah, checking the questions that we have.
The question is talking about the tool. Yes, the company name, is it, or the COMAE? Is it the one, this is the one you have mentioned?
What is it again?
COMAE.
COMAE. I don't
No.
know if that's the name. Yeah, I don't remember if that's the name. But I will add those, by the way, to the document as well. No worries about that.
Maybe after the session that you will mention all tools that have been used in this session, Doctor.
Sure,
Yeah.
I'll definitely do that.
They're asking if you're referring to Dump It.
Yep, I think Dump It, they are now rebranding it to, yep, Dump It. I don't know how I forgot that name, actually. It's very obvious. Dump It is the tool, but I think they took it offline now, so you won't find it unless you have an old copy. I do recall they are planning on rebranding or something like that. So in the meantime, I would say use the Magnet one or Belkasoft, or worst case, use FTK Imager. But that's a little bit tricky. Any other questions?
Yeah, checking actually. Amy suggested that we extract all files and run a recursive file hashing for the files and compare them. I think that came up when you were talking about 101 tool.
Excuse me, Iyad, I didn't understand. I probably didn't understand the question.
That's just a suggestion by Amy. She mentioned sometime, 10 minutes ago, that we extract all files and run a recursive file hashing for the files and then compare them.
Yeah, I will add you can either have a tool which does the computations, those for you, or by the way, Microsoft, since you are using Windows, Microsoft, you can just use the PowerShell to do that. They are on my GitHub, by the way. I try to track these down because I'm not good at memorizing things, and at the end, I would say it's hard to memorize a lot of things. So don't try to memorize things, but keep them in a document somewhere. You can find them on my GitHub, the PowerShell commands that you can use. They are all listed over there. Not just, by the way, for hashes. You'll find there also for timestamps, how to modify timestamps with a local UTC. I'll also be adding the things we use today. You'll find all of them.
Yeah, Ahmed is asking about automating evidence collection. Is there any specific tool we can use for that?
Evidence collection?
Yeah, to automate the evidence collection process.
I would say use Cape. Cape is great, by the way. It can be scripted and automated to do all of that for you. So you can just do some configurations. And I know, I think Adam or even Eric, I think he has a workshop, or Andrew, I think his name is Andrew. Sorry about all of those guys that I forgot their names. There are workshops, by the way. They are very detailed, how to script this, and even how to create your own custom, I would say, evidence bag, so it will then parse that bag of evidence for you. There are workshops. I will add them to the document. This is going to be a huge list of references. I hope someone at the end
will be a reference. Yeah.
Okay.
There is another question, just wrapping up the questions. Do you have a specific tool? No, this is the one we asked. Do you recommend using Autopsy on forensics?
Autopsy is great, by the way, and I know the team behind it. They, if you go attend OSDFCon, which is the conference that the company behind Autopsy holds every year, they hold the Autopsy plugin competition, and every year new plugins get submitted, new ideas get added to the tool. So if I compare Autopsy, when I first started using it, maybe 7 years ago or more than that, probably, to where it stands today, there's a huge difference between them. You'll see there's a huge, and it's being enhanced every year. So keep an eye out for Autopsy, their updates, and also the plugin competition. Some of the plugins do not get pushed into the Autopsy itself, but you can go download them. Those are, I would say, community supported plugins. You can go download them and add them to Autopsy and use them. Yeah, Autopsy is great, by the way. Just because it's free, it doesn't mean it's not a good tool. I personally, at the college, I would say I mostly, in most of my classes, except for the introductory classes, which is what we call the FOR 101 classes, the Forensics 101 or 100 level classes, I will show the students how to use a toolkit like Autopsy or Axiom, X-Ways, etc. But after that, I do not recommend. I don't use that. I always use a tool for a specific artifact. So I would mostly use Eric's tools to get jump lists, to get like LNK files, prefetch files, one artifact at a time, and show the student how to just look at that single artifact. Then if you work for an organization which can pull all those into one toolkit and you want to use that, as long as you know what you're doing, you should be fine with doing that.
You answered the second question. It was also about open source tool and how people can start. So that's good. We only have final question. Yes, closing. Yes, and it's a bit detailed. It is by Ahmed on Autopsy. If it has a problem with multi-core systems, did you find any issue when using Autopsy while using multi-core system? It does not use all the cores available. Very specific question from Ahmed.
I didn't notice that, honestly. If I didn't notice that if it's using multi-cores properly or not. I didn't check that.
Okay, one quick question. How do you prevent the USB that contains the dump from getting encrypted by the ransomware while doing live RAM acquisition?
How do I prevent the USB?
Yeah, from getting encrypted by a ransomware.
So
while doing live RAM acquisition.
So recently, what there is also a write blocker for USBs, so probably you can use that in those cases. I'm not sure if this will answer that question or not, but again, this is not a promotion for a company, but I recently start using Guardianix, this tool, so probably you can do that. I know it's for acquiring USBs, I'm not sure if that's that's the answer you're looking into, or maybe try to like acquire as long as you have a write blocker, or as long as your USB can have, like, there are some USBs where you can make them read only. That way the ransomware will not be able to, let's say, encrypt the data and probably then send your data or dump your data remotely to some location, or acquire the data remotely. You can probably do that. There are lots of, I would say today, tools which allow you to do remote acquisition. So you don't really need to plug in a USB and actually do that.
A question about anti-RS system. I think maybe we can collect these questions, Doctor, maybe.
It will never end, and people are already asking for another session like this.
If there are more questions, can be sent to Dr. Ali on his Twitter, maybe. Yeah.
Yes.
Privately. He's tired now.
We'd like to thank you, Doctor, so much.
I just have another appointment that I will need to leave.
Thank you for your time. This is really appreciated by community here in Jordan and also globally here who attended with us. We are so grateful to you, Dr. Ali, and for your great participation. It was really informative. And I'm sure people will watch it again and again, this workshop.
You're welcome. Thank you
so much, and hope to see you all. And thank you all for all the attendees. By this, we wrap up Security BSides Amman 2021. Hope we'll see you with more events in the future. We don't know when, but in the future. Thank you so much, and have a nice day. Have a nice week, and good night. Yes,
bye.
And good night for everyone. Thank you, Doctor. Bye.
Welcome. Thank you. Bye-bye.